Alrighty, hey guys, Aaron here with Ashby Disc Dies. Today we're going to be going over all the discs for my round on May 11th. So May 11th is the day that my grandfather passed away, and he was one of the big inspirations that I got into disc golf and disc dying. So for me to kind of honor him, I went and played around with all the discs that kind of remind me of him. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So the first one we have here is a lift, Streamline lift. This disc is really special to me. So it's a picture of my grandparents, Hank and Colleen. Up top here we have their anniversary, their anniversary. And then we do have both their birthdays listed here on kind of these sides. And then May 11th here is the day, like I said, that my grandfather passed away. So this was a disc that allowed me to kind of cope with my loss of my grandfather, and just kind of a way for me to kind of honor him as I play disc golf. And there is enough space on this slot over here when that time does come for my grandma. So that'll kind of help me overcome that when that time does come. So, but this is a lift, like I said. It's a very fun flippy disc. Where you can kind of just, hyzer flip it up, have it go flat for a while, or you can kind of just throw it flat and it'll kind of drift off for you for a right hand, backhand. It's a ton of fun. It's been a fun disc to try and figure out. There's a beautiful Lab Second that I picked up at another round Salt Lake for $10. So good disc, good fairway driver, and it's probably one of my go-to fairway drivers. Next, we have my main putting putter and throwing putter. I have a Proxy here. This one is special to me because it was one of the first ones that got me back into disc dying. So I basically used an X-Acto knife, cut it out, and then let it sit in the die for about 48 hours. It wasn't necessarily the greatest in terms of the color because of the brand that I got. They switched up their formula. So it's a little bit brown hueish. You can't quite tell probably on camera. But to me, that was something I did right before a B-tier tournament up in Idaho. And I putted with it without really having much experience. And I ended up taking third in MA2. So I was very proud about that. And this is, again, just kind of my go-to putter. And it just kind of honors him. It's got his football number. He played football at the University of Utah. So that's kind of where a lot of these are going to be drawing the inspiration from. Okay, next we have my grandpa's emu egg carving. So this is definitely one of my favorite artistic things that he's done outside of his paintings. He did basically just an eagle, and as the eagle's head goes back, it flows into the Indian's headdress. I just thought this was a really cool design that he put on this egg, so I wanted to try and replicate that the best I could. So the first attempt I did on this pyro. This pyro was something I had never really tried and wanted to try a pyro out because I was looking for an overstable mid-range to fill that slot in my bag. And I absolutely fell in love with the pyro. This one was the first time I did this design. This is his signature down here at the bottom for all of his paintings that he does. I was a little bummed out that I didn't center it quite as well as I probably should have. I centered it based on this image and not the entire image. So that was definitely a lesson learned in the aspect of disc dying, to center it on the entire image and not just part of the image. But I really love the pyro. That's something that's kind of become more of like a staple in my bag for anything that's around, 225 to close to 300. 300 is maybe pushing it, but like for sure anywhere in that range is something I'm going to be throwing a pyro for. And this one is a really fun one. The first time I played around with it, I went with my friend Bucky, and I ended up throwing this one in the creek, and I was on a hole that I was playing safe, and it just took a crazy skip and ended up going in the water. But because of just my attachment to the disc, I actually hopped in the water and found it. So it's got some kind of good memories with that one. I ended up redoing the same design. This one is also on a pyro. This is the Particle Glow Pyro from the Gyropalooza 2025 box. I ended up actually getting this one online from somebody else because I liked the colorway of it, and to me it was kind of almost like the yin and yang version. So you got different color flight plates and then rims, so they kind of just swapped those two colorways. And I really love the Particle Glow plastic, and I was really hoping that it'd be a really good plastic to play for a night round. I would say it's more fashion over function in terms of that. I could slap on some glow-in-the-dark stickers for a glow-in-the-dark round, but they would probably have to kind of be on the outskirts. And I have a different pyro, particle glow pyro from my Gyropalooza box that I pulled, that I'm excited to put a dye on, and it'll actually work well with the glow stickers on top of it. So stay tuned for that one. Next, I have a proxy. This one was a disc that I had extra store credit from for one of the tournament, or that B tier tournament up in Idaho. So I wanted a glow plastic disc to have a proxy, so I could have, you know, just my go-to putter at night. And this is me and my dad and two uncles when we went to the Pac-12 championship, and it was against USC. It was a ton of fun down in Allegiant Stadium down in Vegas. It was a really good game as well. Utah got down quite a bit. I think it was like 17-3 to start the game. And then Utah went on a crazy run to kind of come back and ended up winning by a big margin, 47-24. So, and it was fun because we were in the USC end zone. So all the USC fans were kind of talking mad trash at the beginning, and slowly got quiet as time went on. The reason I felt like this game was very impactful to me is it was, like I said, against USC. So my grandpa actually went to Utah and USC, so he had kind of ties to both schools. So he played football at the U, and then he went and got his physical therapy degree at USC. So he had kind of ties to both of them. And this was actually right after my grandpa had passed away. So this was kind of a way for us to kind of honor him, and especially with the moment of loudness. That was a cool tradition that Utah started to do, where you honor your family members, past, present, and future. And it was a way for us to kind of just have that moment, to feel like we were with him and he was there watching the game with us. So very special disc to me. My only gripe with this is when I ordered it off Infinite Discs, it said it was red. And I don't know if you can quite tell, but that definitely looks pink to me. So that's my only gripe with this disc. But again, it's just a proxy. Good putter for me, and a good throwing putter if you just need a dead straight shot. This one is kind of very similar to the Pac-12 one. I took the design of us, and I kind of wanted it to be kind of a two-part thing, where this was us at the Pac-12 championship, and this was off to the Rose Bowl because we went to the Rose Bowl after that. So this one I did with a lotion painting, so it's not as saturated, and this one was a hot dip method. I learned real quick that the hot dip method, if your stencil isn't laid really well on there, if there's any sort of air bubbles in it, you are going to get a lot of bleeding on it, as you can tell kind of on this disc in some of these spots. This disc I don't really love throwing. It is a Glow Vanish. I got it at a tournament that I did down in Spanish Fork, Utah. It does not fly how the numbers indicate. It's the most overstable disc in that category, I feel like. So it's a Vanish. So it should be a 11.6 -3.2, but it flies pretty overstable. So I think sometimes the glow plastic just kind of does that. So this one's just kind of a good one just to kind of remember that moment, you know, sending off to the Rose Bowl. Yeah, one of the first discs that I dyed with the hot dip method, and then put the red on top of it afterwards. Okay, our next three discs are all Ashby Disc Dye exclusives. So these are ones that are going to be my logo for my disc dyeing page and this page that you're currently on. So it's based on my grandpa's watercolor painting. It is my favorite that we have in our household. We have a handful, and it's just a beautiful scene where you have an eagle kind of flying over a lake with a mountain view in the background. This was on a Glow Wave, so this is one of the main ones that I used in the round on May 11th. My only gripe with it is it's not, I wanted a destroyer, but the Wave was the next best option that I had. And if any of you know, a destroyer and a Wave do not fly quite the same. So even in this Eclipse plastic, it's a little bit more overstable, but it still didn't provide me with that dependability when I threw it on a hard forehand to come over for me. But this is the first one that I did. So that, like I said, was a Glow Wave. We have a Total Eclipse Envy. This one is one that I was excited to try out. It is very overstable for an Envy. Everybody said an Envy is just a little bit more overstable than a proxy, but I find this one to be a lot more overstable than my proxies. And it is relatively new. I did get it from Another Round Salt Lake in the used bin for $10. but to me, it still flies a little bit more overstable. But it is one that I've kind of been tinkering around a little bit with just to see if it's something that I could have as a complement to my Proxy. But it does have a cool different glow rim than it does with the flight plate. So this I love the Total Eclipse plastic ones that have the two different colors with the rim and then the flight plate. So last one I got here is a Glow Range. Range is a very interesting disc. It's got about one glide, so it very much just drops right where you kind of put it. And everybody kind of said it was just a gimmick disc. It's not something that's very important or needing in your bag, but I found at times where I don't want any skip or I just need it to just kind of die right away and, you know, avoid shooting long. This is kind of something that I've been reaching for. In probably the last 2 months, I'd say it's kind of been in and out of the bag. It's very situational, so I'm not using it all the time, but it is something that I think would be beneficial to have if you're ever worried about overshooting a hole. It is a good throwing putter for me, and I feel like sometimes I use it as like a scrambled disc where it's like I'm tucked behind something and I need to just pitch out and not worry about it going too far one way or the other. That's usually what I'll be kind of reaching for. So again, these are the first 3 Ashby disc dies that I've done. I did a couple other for some other individuals, but I've thought about kind of turning them into, so to speak, like baseball cards, where this one is like first edition Ashby disc die, and then you have number 2, and then you'd have 3. So kind of just numbering the cards. So each of them kind of have like a personality to it, where it's like, you know, this is, you know, the, you know, first 10 that I made, I have one of those or something like that. So that's kind of the concept. We'll see where we go with that. Next, we have a Trash Panda Dune. So I was a little worried on this one with Trash Panda. Their whole thing is recycled plastics. They just recently came out with a disc that they made out of Crocs, which I find very interesting. I was just worried the plastic wouldn't take the die very well because of that, but this one took the die perfectly. So this is a picture of my grandpa holding a king salmon that he caught when he was up in Alaska. So it's a 56 pound king salmon, about 48 inches long, so a good 4 feet. And this is one of my favorite things that, so he has the fish mounted, and anytime we went to my grandparents' house in Idaho, that was always my favorite thing to look at because it was just sitting right down there in their basement, and is currently in our basement now. So I'll go ahead and throw a picture of that in the video. But this is, again, just a really cool disc to kind of remember the picture of when he caught the king salmon. And this is a dune, so it's like an understable mid-range where it should fly relatively straight for you, maybe with just a little bit of finish to the right. So it is something that I've tried to kind of implement into my bag. I'm just not usually reaching for that type of disc for my shot shape, so I usually try to throw a forehand if I need something to go to the right. But it is kind of nice to have that just for some different utility. So even if worst case scenario never finds its place in my bag, it is a cool disc to kind of commemorate the king salmon that he caught. I did a project in December called Disc Moss. So it was just kind of my way of promoting mental health through disc dyeing. Afterwards, I had everybody in my family dye a disc just to kind of have some experience with it. I did most of the work to get it set up, but they put on the lotion and weeded it. But this one was my mom's. So this is a lovely block U with the rose thread. This is probably my favorite logo that the University of Utah has done when we went to the Rose Bowl, because it just, I don't know, to me, it's a perfect way to implement the Rose Bowl into the logo. But yeah, I really love how this one turned out. It's kind of a clear proton plastic, so you can kind of see through it. This is a Fireball. This is in my bag. This is probably one of my go-to fairway drivers for any overstable approach or drive. And yeah, I love it. It's a good disc. And to me, that would be one of the logos that helps me remind me of my grandpa the most, because a rose was his favorite flower as well. All right, lastly, we have a Volt here with swoop and then the block U on it. So this is the one that my brother made. If I had to give every disc a name, this would be a Utah Man Am I, because that's kind of really what it represents to me. This is on a used Volt. I really like the Volt. It was kind of something that was in my bag till I threw one in the creek and then got a new one. The new one that I got was very overstable, was not flying like a Volt. But this one is super beat in, so it's not quite where I want it to be. but it would be a nice compliment. I went and picked up another one with my store credit after I had the Salt Lake Open. So that's what I spent my store credit on. So excited to throw that one, and already have a die in mind for that one. So you'll also have to stay tuned for that. But Volt's a very good disc. I feel like I'm kind of teetering between the Volt and the Tesla from MVP. They're both very good discs. They just slight differences, but relatively the same flight. So, but there you have it. That's our disc that we played with on May 11th. So there's some I played with more compared to others, but it was a very windy day. It was about 50-mile-an-hour winds, and I didn't have quite as overstable of the discs that I wanted to for my long drives. The Wave is what I had to throw for a lot of them, and it kind of bit me in the butt a little bit with going out of bounds on that. But I was kind of mad about how I played, and when I got home and I was telling my grandma about it, she said, and I love it because it really just put things into perspective. She said, that's Grandpa's way of telling you still have room for improvement. And that really just stuck with me because it's so true. We always have room for improvement, especially, in disc golf. There's always something, a part of your game that you can work on, whether that be putting, your approaches, your drives, your form. There's so much that you can work on. And that's what I love about disc golf is it's a form of self-care, and it's also a way to help me kind of, improve myself and refine myself. And by doing that in disc golf, I think it also helps you out in life in other areas. So to me, it was a beautiful quote, and I could definitely feel that statement to be true. There's a lot of things I can work on, and very excited for the next couple months just to kind of get out in the summertime, play a bunch, get a lot of good field work in, and kind of see where it goes from there. But yeah, very excited for a couple tournaments I have coming up. So I'm going to do the Solitude Open up on a ski resort in Utah, and then the state championship in August. So that one will be at Brighton Ski Resort and then at Creekside. So especially with how well I did in the Salt Lake Open, which was not very good, I have a lot of room for improvement, and very excited to see come those tournament times how well that improvement's done. And if I took my grandma's advice to heart, and went out and put in the work to get myself to where I want to be. So but thank you guys for watching. If you want to see that full round, go ahead, check the link below, and you'll go ahead and see my not so good round, but you'll see kind of the throws with the discs.
And remember, disc moss.
Disc moss, baby.